we'll give people a few minutes to join, and then we're
Yeah,
gonna
but
we'll
you need, as the amazing host that you are, you're going to be like, "Yo, everyone, it's Friday afternoon. This is happening. Bam! We're not waiting. Amateurs
we
wait. We're pros.
we are we are not waiting. We are pros. You are correct. We are
That's right.
pros.
That's right.
So we're when we hit the 101 mark, it's happening. We're going. So
Okay.
does this give you the option then to stream it onto your channel or like on
Well,
your feed?
what? Let me see. The that that's a separate little setting, and I haven't messed around with it too much. Let me just see here. Boom, boom. Oh, I'm gonna go with high def. Give you some high def action. Bada
There
boom,
you go.
bada bing,
There you
bada
go.
boom. And but that's the only thing. It didn't give me any other feed options. And so,
Hmm.
but it's like any zoo. It's like don't feed the animals. I mean, that's basically, yeah.
Don't feed the animals. That's funny. That's
Yeah, it
funny.
is funny. It is funny.
Oh.
So,
All right. Well,
all right,
let's get rolling
let's get
and
rolling. Let's bring it.
let's dive into it. So first, thanks for joining today. Really excited. I love talking branding with you. There's nobody I would rather talk branding with than you because you are so knowledgeable in it. And what I really want to focus on today is the things that early stage businesses can do, right? So at SB Pace, we focus on, businesses that have been around for like 3 years or less primarily. And branding is so important, but most people really don't have a big budget for branding, or they know a lot of other things and don't really know branding. So I'm just really curious what sort of thoughts you have and how you would guide somebody in that situation.
100%, 100%. So the first thing is, it's very interesting because I was actually having a conversation with someone who's been in business for quite some time, worked a lot in Silicon Valley and stuff like that, a few days ago. And there's an interesting question that she had asked. And it was kind of, and it brought me back to this one distinction that I make that people always go, and so I'll mention it here because any startup that knows this, it will save them years of misery. So always the focus is on, sales, 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 right? That's like big focus, big metric that people want to drive in revenue. Da, da, da. Fine. Sales is preceded by two things. Without these two things, sales may sometimes happen, may sometimes not happen. They and the bottom line is sales, while it will result in revenue, doesn't mean you necessarily have a brand. You may have a business, but you may be transactional. You may not actually be
Mhm.
building a brand. So, what are the two things that precede? Okay, so prior to sales, because what is sales doing? If we understand this, it'll make it all make sense. Sales is basically harvesting the seeds planted. So we
Yes.
understand. If we understand, well, wait a second. You're just talking about seeds being planted. When did those happen? Aha. Okay, so we have prior to that we have this thing called marketing, right? What is marketing's job? Marketing's job is to get the seeds out so that they can actually, land in fertile soil and grow where there's fertile soil and wither away and get by the rain or whatever where it's not fertile soil. Good. So that's marketing's job, is to get the stuff out. But then what are they talking about? What's marketing talking about? That's the job of branding, and that's what comes first. Now, so that's the things you have branding. What are we talking about? How are we different? Why should we pay attention? Then it's like, bang. Okay, marketing. You now know how we fit, why us, why not, why we're different, and the preferable choice to the competition that's out there. And then bang, there's your sale. That's how it flows. But here's the other interesting thing. This is the new thing that we talked about. Sales is a very short, finite thing compared to the other two. Like, for example, let's take a really simple example. Okay, buying some fast food crap to just shove in your face while you're between this meeting and the next one, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like, oh yeah, right. I could drive through. There's your sale. Consume, but here's your $3.50 for 14 burgers, 25 fries, and 30 and three shakes, and which all have 400,000 calories, all a built-in heart attack. But hey, it cost me $3.50. Cost me nothing. Anyway, so the thing is, but there's your sale. Good. Well, there was marketing that took a longer span. So that sale is like instantaneous. Took no time. Marketing is a little more time and lasts a little more time. A campaign or this or that. Branding has the longest duration of it all. So it goes from like the thing, it doesn't, not that it takes a long time to do them. It's not that it takes that, but it does take, time to do a brand properly. But bam, that's the thing that has the longest duration. And then underneath that, you have campaigns, which have more finite periods of time. And then your sales, or just, so it's just very interesting to see people go, whoa, I don't want to invest in branding because I don't see the return. You don't see the return. Are you building a brand where you have loyalty and relationships and people will come back to you and repeat business and refer to you and think of you in the proper light? Or are you just going to be, okay, yeah, whatever. You're this choice, that choice. And as a result, which one's cheaper?
Right. So branding is a relationship, and not using branding results in very transactional business where you're probably not getting repeat business, or you're having to work extra hard to get that repeat business because you don't have an established brand.
Correct. Correct. I
What's
mean,
the
look,
biggest
here's one thing, just to complement that. For those that know Gary Vaynerchuk, okay,
Mhm.
Gary Vaynerchuk, it's like, he made an excellent point. He says the greatest companies in the world don't, the greatest brands in the world don't sell, they brand. Which when you look at it, you go, do I have to be sold on a pair of Nikes when I go to the store? Do I have to be sold on an iPhone when I walk into, it's like, no, it's like they've established their brand so well. Do I have to be sold on a Yeti little mug? Do I have to be sold on certain vehicles? You know, it's like, so that brand thing goes a long way if you really understand how it fits into the relationship and
Yeah.
dynamics of actually people.
Yeah, that's such a good point. You're right. Once you have a really well-established brand, it fair to say life as a business owner gets a little bit easier because you don't have to focus that energy on, making people aware that you exist, because your brand is out there doing that work for you because you've done such a good job of building it and setting it up.
From some standpoints, it might appear easier. From other standpoints, it might appear like, holy crap, I have more demands on me because more people want my services or my product,
Yeah.
and
Well,
and
that's the
that and that,
dream.
that, that becomes an organizational thing. That becomes like, okay, am I delegating right? Am I getting the proper roles worn by the proper people? So so to say that, well, that you'll work less. Well, put it this way: anybody who's going down the path of being an entrepreneur, they would sooner have their freedom and never trade in the importance of their freedom to the slavery of that often slavery and or compromise that tends to fit in with, okay, I'm going to be on a payroll, I'm going to show up at a
Yeah.
place every day, kind of do the same thing, and I'm going to get a check, and whether I do great or whether I do eh, I'm going to get the same money. There's no incentive, there's no reward, there's no pride, there's no skin in the game. So that little door you opened, you said, David, you want to look at this one? It's like, well, there's a big hallway that goes through where that door goes through. It's a big conversation to have, but
Yeah.
theoretically, one
Yeah.
could work less for sure.
So what are like some of the biggest mistakes that you see small or newer businesses make when it comes to branding, that if you could just like, come down from the heavens above and like deliver a message, it would be like shake them and say, stop doing that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, basically, it goes like this. It goes like, all right, um, you you don't need to the idea that your thing is going to change the world, and that it's the thing that everybody's been seeking, and that it's the best and it's the most awesome and all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying that you can't change the world. I firmly believe that people can, but to be so cracked up, like jacked up on your own smack of like your own brand, like, hey, my shit's great, my stuff's like amazing. Um, that may be very well may be true. If you're going to do that, at least be aware of how amazing the other options are, if there are amazing other options. Okay. Don't be so drunk on your own Kool-Aid that you're like, nobody else matters. We're the best. We're great. We're fine. Because that's bullshit. People, marketing and branding is not a telepathic exercise. People will not detect your awesomeness just because they're perceiving the amazing aura that you exude when you walk in the room. Okay.
Really, what about Mike Fallon? Wouldn't they that he surely he's an exception.
Mike Fallon is probably the only exception in the entirety of the human race. Okay. I mean, he's probably the only one, and how do I know that? Because I don't even see that Mike is even here right now. Okay.
You can
So
feel
that,
him.
well, I could, he's feel right now. He's going, he's going, what's going on? What's going on? He's detecting. So his spidey senses are tingling. He's going, what's going
Yeah.
on here? And so, but yeah, outside of Mike, for us ordinary individuals, us ordinary humans, that yeah, we don't have the telepathic skill set that he does. He has that sort of hypnotic impact upon men, women, four-legged creatures.
Children, everybody. It's crazy. But I do love, in all seriousness, it's kind of funny. I think, I've slowly started to realize over the past several months, and really since working with you, David, that
Mhm.
there's so much benefit to like some of the hardships that Corey and I have gone through in our business, right? Like if there's a hard lesson to learn, we've learned it, right? We've done
Mhm.
everything the hard way.
Right.
And I used to be really embarrassed about that. Like, I would not want to admit it to people because you're like, who would want to work with somebody who makes every mistake possible? And then I realized, recently, and really with the help of you and, our good friend Tony Watley, that those mistakes are probably what make Corey and I really good at what we do because we've been through it. And so we can understand it. And when we started our business, well, obviously we didn't know what we were doing because we picked a name like SB Pace, right, David? So we picked this absolutely insanely stupid name. And then we build this company thinking if we build it, they will come, and did like
Right.
zero work on branding or marketing.
Right.
And nobody came. We're like, where are all the clients? And we were so confused. And for a long time, we probably for 12 months played catch up off of that very, very stupid and naive mistake.
Right.
Um, but we see it with our clients. Almost every client we work with that launches a new business, no
Yeah.
matter how much we tell them, you need to be prepared. It doesn't work like that. They get really frustrated when it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Really
Well,
frustrated.
well, I mean, I say in jest, but sincerely, marketing by telepathy has been proven to not be a reliable strategy.
I,
And people go,
in
and people
fact,
go,
back that.
people go, that's interesting. But marketing by telepathy, yeah. That's psychic. That's when people are supposed to like read your mind or feel your aura, man. You
Yeah.
know, come on. So
right?
yeah,
You're all,
it's like that's the thing. It's and look, when people ask me, I mean, I've been doing what I've been doing for 41 years, and so, my first 15 years, I had incredible highs and incredible lows, highs, lows, and it was because of the fact that I it was because of the fact that I was only trained in school to be an artist, a designer, a visual person, deal with that realm of things. I knew nothing about negotiating. I knew nothing about speaking publicly. I knew nothing about the enormous power of words. I knew not so much about storytelling, but growing up in New York helps with one's ability to kind of tell stories. Or just that is the nature of the culture of that.
yeah.
But until you someone says craft a story, you don't quite flex those muscles. But I didn't know all that stuff. So that until I realized that, my whole default was my talent and my skill and my brilliance in visuals and solutions and stuff would always carry the day. And that was a very naive way to go about business. The fact that I survived was, I mean, I was talking about this with Damon John like about 2 weeks ago, and he didn't come from the design side as much as just like the entrepreneurial side. But like me, neither of us were formally trained as business people. Neither of us has
Mhm.
an MBA. Neither of us has had that school of teaching. We can come from the school of resilience, stubbornness, optimism, naivety, I think of all those things, and just a drive, right? Just a drive. And that's the thing. And unless you if you're to the extent that I will say, to the extent, and this any business can apply, whether you're a startup or otherwise, to the extent that you are looking outside of yourself for confirmation, like the market or peers or the press or social media or any to the extent that you're looking for that kind of confirmation, validation external to yourself, is to the extent that you will go through endless years of agony and pain and duress.
Yeah, that's on the money, great feedback, right? Because I think when you're, for a lot of entrepreneurs when they're first starting, they're they really want it, but they also really want that validation, and they want the recognition, or they want to look good to their peers or to, the networking groups they're in or whatever. And that's a dangerous game to play because I've been in a number of networking groups where I can assure you that that a very large number of people that are in the group are posing with what their results are, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because sometimes you're like, listen, we are in that. I literally just put a post on Facebook and LinkedIn about the peaks and the valleys of being an entrepreneur, and how we go through them. We're still going through them, right? And I know when we're in a valley, I know why. I always know why it's happening, right? And it's really, and I feel like I've said this so many times in the past week, but if you have read or heard anything from Tim Grover when he talks in his book Winning about how, winning, the second you take your foot off the gas because you're like, oh my God, that was great, we won. Like you're starting from the bottom again, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
those valleys they're hard to they're hard to plan around from a financial standpoint when they're happening, but they also detrimentally they do something to you from an emotional or self-esteem standpoint, where you're like thinking, man, am I really, maybe we're not that good.
Right.
But it occurs to me that upfront branding and really having that solid helps alleviate a lot of that pain.
Well, the thing is you've done. Hey, Stacy Traxler, that must be is now. I'm just taking a wild stab here. Traxler, relative maybe?
It's my sister-in-law. She is my business. She is our business partner in Certivium.
There
Yes.
you go. There you go. Well, welcome, Stacy. Thanks. Yeah, no, the bottom line is that's why I say we need to learn to be our own worst enemy. And people go, huh? I'm
I
like,
know.
well,
I just did that. I was like, what? Why?
well, the bottom line is because we achieve a certain milestone, right? We hit up
Yeah.
high. Good. Well, are we going to now just ride the wave until hey, okay, I did that? Who's going to now? What's the new high? Every great brand that you admire, every great athlete that you admire, every great artist, actor, film director, um, race car driver, entrepreneur, whatever, thought leader, author, when they reach a high, do they stop there and they go, okay, I reached that high? No, they go, that's the new milestone, the new benchmark from which they now must do their next high. So the bottom line is that's why we must be our own worst enemy. Because if we don't do that, if we don't trump our prior high, someone's going to do it for us. And it's one of the things that I loved about Steve Jobs. Like if you look at his biography, his whole thing was when they finally, after testing of years and years and years, because I think we're now in like the a little over the 10th year anniversary for when the iPad came out. Believe it or not, the iPad has only been around for like 10 years,
How
decade.
crazy is that?
Tablet, okay. But
Yeah.
the thing is, when they came out with that, Steve Jobs was like, okay, good. We've nailed it. We got it. It works. This is great. Now, show me two and show me three. Apple is in the ethos of Apple is how do they make their own products antiquated and obsolete? So that's why you must be your own worst enemy. That's what I mean by that.
Yeah. Oh, and that's interesting because we've talked about that in the branding masterclass, right? Of
That's
the,
right.
how you should be working to make yourself obsolete at all times. I want to ask you a question about the relationship between branding and marketing and how
Sure.
you define that to people.
Yeah. Well, branding is why are we here? What's our role in the world? How are we different from all the other options out there? What is our narrative? And and obviously branding, the short definition of branding is the art of differentiation and everything that supports that. Now, marketing isn't in the job of differentiation. Marketing is in the job of promoting. Marketing is in the job of getting the word out. Marketing is in the job of presenting offers and attracting interest and doing different things based on what our brand is, right? And
Yeah.
so if you don't have that context, then here's an example. I have had companies that come to me and say, "Hey, David, I want you to brand us," and I would then go ahead and brand them. Or no, as we're doing the discovery, the homework for developing their brand, I find out. Let's say they have 8 to 10 salespeople who are like good, strong. In fact, there was one of my clients actually remembered very well. They had like about 8 to 10 really strong salespeople, and I spoke to them. I said I wanted to speak to them and actually get a sense of what they think the brand is and what it's about. And what happens is I found about 5 to 7 completely different stories what the brand actually stands for based on the salespeople because none of them knew what the brand stood for. So what they did is they made up whatever worked best in terms of their pitch to close deals and get their commission. There's the most, there's the most extreme example. So literally, if you spoke to 10 of their 10 salespeople, you would
Yeah.
be sure that you were probably dealing with 5 to 7 different companies as far as what you heard. You wouldn't know that they were all the same company. So that's just an example. So that's the thing. That's why the branding is the bedrock, and the marketing's job is to get the word out based on that.
That's a great differentiation between the two. I think that I suspect that happens a lot where people don't know, people inside the company have a different idea of what the brand is. That's why that brand book is so important, right? The brand guide. Yeah. And I kind of laughed as recently in this past week, we've talked about the brand guide in the branding masterclass that you have, which we're going to talk about a little bit at the end here. The specifics of your next session, but we're on that this week, right? And one of the things that you say about the brand guide is that it's pretty much a must for bigger companies, but for smaller companies, it's not a must. It can be helpful, but it's not a must. And we have one, right, for our company, small. There's really only 4 of us. But there was 5 at one point, but one of our marketing people just left, our social media people. But I think where it has helped us so much is because everybody is in a different location and everybody has access to be posting on social media and speaking for the company. So to have the voice and understand how to use the colors and the fonts and the logos and everything was really helpful for everyone. And so it's one of those things where I think not only is it if you have a big company, but if you have a distributed company, it comes in very handy to have a brand guide. You froze. Now I have to carry the conversation until you unfreeze. This is awkward. David. All right, he'll come back. So anyway, he has a brilliant branding masterclass that I wonder if he's just like punking me right now. There's any chance he's punking? Probably not. He has a brilliant branding masterclass that I am in with a bunch of other people. There's probably about 20 of us in the group, and it's been really, really insightful and interesting. And I've learned a lot, probably more than I think. Corey's probably disappointed how much I've learned because it means constant changes for us. I am trying to figure out I wonder if I turn his camera. Oh, we lost him in total. Now it's just me just carrying the conversation. Hey, Fallet, I can see you. Raise your hand if you want to come join me for a few minutes. All right. You have to let's unmute you. There you go. Hey.
Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. Yeah.
I can hear you.
Guys, I basically it's not like Zoom. So I had to make sure the sound was right. So is everything good?
Yeah, everything is good. Everything is good. This is really my first time using this. And it's been, my sister-in-law Stacy helped me like prep with it, but this is the first time I've used it really officially. So it's been interesting.
Beautiful. I got in a little late, and then as soon as I get in, I get a call. So I missed a little bit. I heard a few jokes aside in the very beginning, but this is awesome. Is this through LinkedIn or what is this through? This is a new program. I like this.
So the tool that I'm using is called Restream. And I actually just realized earlier in the week that LinkedIn has a live stream option. And so you have to apply for it. And if you use LinkedIn regularly, you'll get approved really fast. So I was approved within 12 hours for it. They give you the recommended tools to use. And this is just the one that I picked because it was really, all of the comments were about small business stuff. And I thought, okay, that's the right one for me. So I picked it and it's cool, but I can stream here, Facebook, YouTube. Like nice. you can stream to 30 different platforms at the same time.
Nice. It's very similar to what was the one that they had out there? I was using it for a while, but I just got away from what is it?
Streamyard or something?
Yeah, Streamyard. I love Streamyard. But hey, nice to see you, Cheryl and Stacy. I see they're in there, so good to see you guys.
I can see. Hang on one second. Can you carry the conversation?
Yeah. So I don't know what we're talking about. I'm assuming personal branding, but I can attest to Dave Brier. He's helped me out tremendously when it comes to my my brand story. So I always used to look at me as having a story and my clients having a story. But what I've realized is like I didn't look at my brand as having its own story, which is weird. So I started to do that within the company, and it's been quite helpful. So I have to thank Dave Brier, who I guess went and made coffee for a couple minutes and then decided to join us.
Get to get his espresso.
Obviously, there was an internet connection that had been drinking decaf, and so I don't know. That's basic. But we did out you, Mike. I mean, we talked about the fact that marketing by telepathy is not a reliable system, except for you, because of your hypnotic gaze, because of your impossible to ignore charismatic sort of glow that you alone, you're the only human on earth that either of us knows who has that ability to actually just, that you can mark, if you think it, others know it. And not only know it, but they want it.
Yes, he has the ability to make women, children, men, and puppies swoon. That's
right. Yeah, with two-legged creatures and four-legged creatures. We limited it to those.
Thank you. The rules don't apply. I've been saying that for years. Finally, someone's catching on. The rules just don't apply for me. I like this. And speaking of which, in my apartment complex, there's like this swimming pool everybody goes to, and one day out of the year, you're allowed to bring your dogs. So I made sure that I was the neighborhood favorite with all the dogs. Forget about the neighbors. I want to just, be the favorite of the dogs. So now I'm the dog whisperer in the neighborhood, and today's Halloween trick-or-treating, so I had to go out and get the big candy bars to win over the kids. So if I win over the dogs and win over the kids, I have an army around here. So that's exactly it, man. Mind control. That's it. You get it.
It's like you're running for government.
Why are their souls?
It's kind of scary. Just the visual that Mike is there leading the charge, and following him are a bunch of little, 8 to 10-year-olds and dogs. The visual alone is very disturbing. It's very unsettling in a certain odd way, I'll say.
But appropriate. Oddly
yeah,
appropriate.
thank you.
Yeah, disturbing but perfectly appropriate. Exactly.
Hey, it's all about branding, right? I want to differentiate myself. I learned that from someone recently.
Well, I think you may be taking this different is better than better to a whole new level.
He might be, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your branding class, since both Mike and I are in it right now, and it's just this amazing event. I love it. I was really kind of dreading doing something on a Saturday morning, but I got to tell you, I now look forward to Saturday mornings, because I'm like, it is money well spent. So Stacy chiming in here, Mike, if only you were closer. Full-size candy bars.
Oh, man, I'm buying these kids.
I don't even know what that means, and I don't know what it means, and I'm scared to ask.
No. Don't you remember going to that house that always gave the full-size, king-size candy bars? And you were like, I got to go there. I have to get those candy bars. There was one house that it was like people were lined up to get those candy bars. So I want to make sure I'm that guy that the kids remember. Man, do you remember that house where the guy was dressed as a Ghostbuster giving out the full-size candy bars? I want Immortal Memories of Mike Fallett burned into the Bear Run apartment complex families. That's all. That's it.
Nice. I'm going to tell you, the immortal memory that's burned into my mind is this little old woman who lived on Main Street, and she was in a wheelchair, and she rolled up to her window, and she had she had the window pulled open, and she had this big box of candy, and she reached into it with a big, like, extra large Cool Whip container, and then dumped it into your bag. Now that was it, man. And there was so much candy at her house. Like, that's the house you wanted to hit all the time.
Thank you. Cheryl, you change your mind. Once you see my smoke machine and strobe light and music, you'd have to come and visit.
All right, David, let's talk about your masterclass. let's talk about it. So what is it about this masterclass that is, well, I know in my opinion what makes it so good, but what is it that you think makes it so special? And then I'm going to ask Mike the same question.
Sure. No, it's great. Great question. Well, my thing that I was very bothered by, because I had, like any entrepreneur, I would invest in myself, and I would go, okay, ooh, there's some skill sets that sound good. I'll learn those and get those from some guru. All right, and bang, and I found a number of things that were problematic. One is I found that they weren't organized particularly great. I felt like I was being thrown a lot of stuff. It wasn't an exact sequence, but it was kind of like at the end of every one of those, I found myself literally feeling as clueless. I didn't know why anything was supposed to work. These little formulas or blueprints or little hacks that they had. It's like, just do this and it will work. And it was like, and all I know is I know that's not true as a entrepreneur, for myself, for my clients. If I didn't know why I was doing something, I essentially was a marionette, believing that if I just apply so-and-so's formula, I will now be the wonderful recipient of riches and success and influence and this and that, the other. And it was just kind of like, bleh. And that was the thing. My thing, so I wanted to create a program that wasn't about you being able to think like me. No, my whole thing was you being able to think like yourself. My whole thing wasn't you being able to like, what would David do? No, what would you do? You now know the tools. And if you're off, if you're not on your right trajectory for success, where do you need to go? What do you have? Do you know how to the right controls to maneuver to recalibrate yourself and get you on course? So I wanted to make it so that these were like, here's the tools. Stop being a marionette. Stop being a puppet to someone else's solution, and understand it for yourself. So it's like literally giving away all the goods for stuff that I know has made millionaires and billionaires. That was basically the difference for me.
Love it. Fallon, what do you got?
Well, I realize that I take action when I invest time and money. And it's basically the philosophy where you put your money, you put your attention. So this is 2 hours on a Saturday, and Saturdays are pretty valuable to me. So if I'm going to be there, I better do something with whatever I'm learning. And I always think of give an example, 365 Driven event, which was in Montana. When I went there, I'm thinking to myself, obviously I'm looking for connections and resources, but whatever advice someone's given me, I better do something with it. And so Roger Wakefield was up there talking about YouTube. And so I made a conscious decision while I'm sitting there. I'm here. I spent money to get here. I'm sitting in this room. I better do something with this information. So I took it back and created the YouTube channel. And I keep thinking to myself, I better keep this going. Otherwise, that trip would have been a waste. And the same thing happens with this. Since I'm there on a Saturday and since I'm doing the stuff during the week, I better be learning something, but not just learn. I need to do something with it. And so whenever there was that assignment about like creating that brand story, man, I just wanted to do it and then to implement it right away. Like I didn't want to think about it or ever, just okay, I got it, bingo, let's take it, let's send it out to the team. Everybody get this, heroes, villains, okay, this is it. Rather than kind of stew on it and like, oh, I'll learn it and then, maybe I'll think about it. I spent the time or the money to be there. I better use it. So that's the benefit of being in like a masterclass like that. You have to trust the source, and I trust David. And he has more energy than I do, which is so insane, by the way. I don't know how that's possible, but when I see that, I'm attracted to it. So when I see him talk about his stuff, number one, I trust him, but I know he cares. How many times you guys get calls or messages throughout the week? Hey, you doing it? Is you liking it? You enjoying it? That shows you care, So. Yeah.
That's phase 3 right there, man. I can really appreciate that. And I'll tell you, I modeled you when I saw how quickly you moved on the brand story and put it on your website. I was like, I'm doing the exact same thing right now. Me and Corey recorded it, put up a video, boom, it's on the homepage of our website now. But this is what I love about the class. And I've never seen another class like this. And any class, any master class or group coaching I ever do in the future, if I'm leading one, I am modeling mine after yours, David, because it is brilliant. It is when I remember asking Roger, that's your guy's name, right? Roger? I remember asking Roger, I know they start at 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. When do they end? Because I have a life I need to plan. And he's like, couldn't tell you. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 3. And I was like, what? And he's like, it just depends. And I was like, it made no sense to me. But now it makes complete sense to me because you do not sit and lecture and instruct and show PowerPoints. There's no PowerPoints involved after week 1 where you're just kind of going over, this is the flow. It is legitimately, you paid money to be here. You're adults. You're going to do this homework on your time. Sometimes people are a week ahead on the homework. Right, Mike? And you
the first and only that ever did that.
Right. And it was really because he was so late, he was ahead. That's exactly what happened, right? He was so late, he was ahead. But when you get into the Zoom on Saturday morning, your attention is 100% devoted to answering questions, giving examples, and walking people through the specifics of their brand. And you're not lecturing, you're giving examples. Other people are like chiming in, and it's brilliant. It's like a 2-hour, 2.5-hour marathon, like learning session that is real world applicable knowledge that you can immediately take and do something with. I mean, I take notes and notes and notes worth of pages every week in class. And I've never been in another class that's done it like that. It's that to me is like, that's your differentiator, David.
Well, first of all, it's great to get the feedback from each of you because it's just great to see it through your eyes. And I mean, the thing that I know, the thing that I know to my core, I spend time with you. You will be dramatically enhanced. I know that. I freaking know that to my core. I know that my whole being. It's like if we're there and we're not just like hanging out to just shoot the shit. If the intent is you have questions, something like that, I know that I can substantially impact that result for you and help you move, just jumpstart that, catapult you in that direction in a way that does not make me anything more than I light the spark and I let you ride with the freaking, let you turn into the blaze of fire. It's not like I'm doing, my whole thing is, it's like what I told you is that you'll both remember it because it's the thing that everyone seems to remember. It's like, I know you're here. I tell everybody the first day, right? I can know you're here because I need a brand. I'm here to tell you, you don't need a freaking brand. Your brand needs you. And I'm here to crap out of the way so that you can actually, I'm going to give you back to you so that you can empower your brand. And everyone goes, what just happened? what did you say? What? Because that's the thing of it. If it's not resulting in you being more powerful, if it's not resulting in you being more able to think for yourself, if it's not resulting in you being more independent and more limber and more able to pivot and tell story and widen your space and impact, then something's wrong. And I don't know many people that have that criteria.
I don't either. All right, we've got less than a minute left, so let's wrap it up you've got another class starting in January, right?
In January, that's right.
January. That's right. How can people contact you about it?
Well, look, the bottom line is reach out to me here on here being, if you're on LinkedIn, it's here. You could also reach out to me on Facebook, but LinkedIn is like probably the most central and easiest way. You could certainly email me directly. I mean, you can go to my website, risingabovethenoise.com, RISING, risingabovethenoise.com. But the bottom line is literally, It's like, reach out to me, DM me, because the bottom line is I expect we're going to fill up super fast. People, the word is getting out on like what this is doing for businesses, the impact this is having on the trajectory. It's like, and we even have, both of you know, I think you both know who I'm talking about. We even have our first person who's done the program, and I'll leave his name out of this because you know who I'm talking about, who now has an actual physical scar on his lip, as he's the first one to actually. So there's like a survival program. It's like a boot camp where you may survive, you may die while doing this, but at least you will die more capable than leading a freaking compromised little average, little wormy, smarmy, little sloth-driven life.
Yes. Facts, all facts. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me, David. And Mike, thank you so much for jumping in. It was a pleasure having you here as well.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm so glad that Dave said the hell with you for 10, 15 minutes to go get some air. It's great to be here. I'm thrilled. So thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
I'm glad you put it in such a good context. That was awesome.